Welcome to Using Your Web Server. Now that you have learned to start and stop your web server, let's take a look at how to use the web server to run and test your programs. First, make sure you have the web server running. Then open any browser and go to localhost/webtech. Click on Run Files in the Samples folder. These sample files correspond to the samples in your book, and we're going to scroll down to welcome.html, and this is going to display an interactive form that if we put some data in, of course you'll put in real data, and submit the form. If you get something like this, then everything is fine. If you don't get something like this, it may indicate that you have not started your web server, so you'll need to do that. Now let's take a look at your coursework folder. Your coursework folder is where you will save your work, where you will test your work, and where you will pick up files that you need to modify or fix for your homework. Click on Chapter 2 and hello.html. And this is going to display a web page that describes the kind of work you're going to be doing in each chapter. Now, we've been looking at these files in localhost on a web server that is in fact running. This is very different than if we tried to look at these files in Internet Explorer. So let's do that. This is the samples folder in Internet Explorer. I'm going to click on Add Two Numbers, double click, and this is going to open a web browser, but note that it's not a web browser that is running a server. It's just running a local file, and all looks good because this is an HTML file. But if I try to process this form, I'm going to get code. The reason we're seeing code is that this is actually a PHP file. If we look at the file extension here, this is a PHP file, and it needs a web server that's running to be able to process. Otherwise, you just simply see the text in the file. So let's look at the same thing on the web server. Close this. I'm going to go back to the samples folder. I'm going to click on Add Two Numbers.html. We'll put in the same numbers and process the form, and this time we actually see the PHP file do what it's supposed to do, which is add the numbers. So if you see this in your web server, you're fine. And again, if this is not what you see, it may be because your web server is in fact not running. So, to summarize, always run your files from localhost after starting the web server, and remember to stop the server when you're finished working.